All right, Hoonigan fam, we have something to talk about. We're going to deep dive into something that we hoped would never happen. Hoonigan Bankrupt. Not just broke, but $1.2 billion in debt. How did we go from shredding tires and winning hearts to this? I'm going to break it down for you, and trust me, this is crazier than anything you've seen in a Gymkhana flick. Stick around, because this story's got more twists and turns than your favorite Gymkhana course. Like, subscribe, and let's go. First off, let's rewind to when Hoonigan was flying high. Founded in 2010 by rally god and legend Ken Block himself, Hoonigan wasn't just another brand, it was a revolution. Whether it was tearing up streets in a Gymkhana video or creating a line of gear that became the look of car enthusiasts, Hoonigan, they did it all. I mean, they were partnering with the biggest names in the game. NASCAR, Ford, Monster Energy, you name it, they were in. And this wasn't just a brand, it was a movement. Hoonigan tapped into the soul of car culture like no one else had done before. Yeah, you could burn rubber in your driveway, but if you were doing it with Hoonigan swag on, totally different vibe, man. But as we all know, even the best races have pit stops. Hoonigan's was about to be a rough one. But before we get into the private equity thing, we gotta cover a tough subject. Hoonigan gave us some of the most famous cars ever to tear up the tarmac. First, we have the Ford Fiesta ST RX-43, a 600 horsepower rally beast that could hit 60 in under 2 seconds. This thing danced through corners faster than you can say Tire Slayer. And here she is, folks, the legendary Hoonicorn, a 1965 Mustang with 1,400 horses under the hood. It's a Mustang on steroids, and it's straight up terrifying in all the best ways. Next up, you had the Escort RS Cosworth, Ken's retro rally love child. 400 horsepower, turbo spooling like it's 93 again. This bad boy brought back the spirit of rally with modern Gymkhana flair. And the Hoona truck. This 914 horsepower monster was a tribute to Ken's dad, but with an EcoBoost V6 that sounded like a jet engine. This truck made urban streets its playground. And finally, we have to shout out the Subaru WRX STI. This is where it all started. 600 horsepower of rally legend. Ken used it to show the world how to hoon properly. These cars didn't just define Gymkhana, they redefined what's possible in the world of stunts. These aren't just cars, man, they're icons. And the nut behind the wheel, well, it was Ken Block, the legend, the dude who put Hoonigan on the map, who we sadly lost in a snowmobile accident. And honestly, it feels like when he passed, a part of Hoonigan died with him. Ken wasn't just the face of the brand, he was the brand. The dude was the heart of everything Hoonigan stood for. Pushing limits, living loud, and turning impossible stunts into art. He made us all believe in the impossible, and without Ken behind the wheel, it just wasn't the same. R.I.P. man, we all love you. Now, before his untimely death, let's go back to 2021, and Clear Lake Capital swooped in like a hero with a checkbook. They bought Hoonigan, promising huge things. More expansion, more Gymkhana, more everything. And just like that, Hoonigan was merged with Wheel Pros, one of the largest aftermarket wheel companies in the world. The future looked bright, but guess what? When private equity gets involved, it's not always rainbows and burnouts. Now, this is where it gets very messy. Clear Lake wasn't just buying Hoonigan, they were buying everything. It was like a shopping spree with your mom's credit card. And while acquisitions usually mean growth, too much can make the engine overheat. They bought up brands left and right, but they didn't pump the brakes before it was too late. Debt started piling up, and that's where the wheels started to come off. Now let's talk about a big number, 1.2 billion. That's like 300,000 Miatas. And that's not just a financial hurdle, that's like trying to jump the Grand Canyon in a stock Raptor. Yeah, that's not gonna buff out. So, the worst part, it isn't just Hoonigan. Their parent company, Wheel Pros, has had its own mountain of debt as well. Combine that with the private equity shopping spree, and things spiraled out of control real quick. And you know what? It wasn't just a bad decision from the top. The economy itself started throwing wrenches into the works. Inflation, interest rates, and supply chain problems only made things worse. This wasn't your average whoops, we spent too much. It was a complete financial nosedive. And I'll explain like I'm 5 what we saw with the Hoonigan and Clear Lake Capital buyout. It's called actually a leveraged buyout, where a private equity firm uses loans, yes, other people's money, to buy a company. So instead of the private equity firm being responsible for the loan, the company they just bought carries carries the debt. If that company fails, the private equity firm risks little because they didn't really invest that much money of their own. And the bank lenders, well, they take the loss. But if the company starts to make even more money, the private equity firm pays off the debt to the bank, and then the company increases its value, which makes the private equity firm money when they eventually sell it for more. And that's exactly why Hoonigan is getting hooned right now, because they started losing a lot of money. So here we are. Hoonigan has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Sounds like the end, but it's really a shot at a fresh start. Think of it like hitting the reset button on your project car. Chapter 11 means they're not going under immediately. It's a way to get rid of a small $1.2 billion weight dragging them down without shutting off the lights. Right now, they're looking to restructure their debt and secure about $570 million in new funding. That's their lifeline. With that cash, they could keep the Hoonigan engine running, fix what's broken, and maybe, just maybe, find their way back to the top. But that's if everything goes to plan. And we all know plans don't always survive the first lap. Okay, so let's get to the part that is easily eating me and probably you the most. What's happening to Gymkhana? What about the content? Ken Block's Gymkhana series put Hoonigan on the map. But now, the future of that epic series is seriously in doubt. It's like your favorite driver getting into a crash on the last lap. You don't know if they're ever gonna race again. And here's what the Reddit interwebs are saying. Hoonigan started going downhill after Ken Block died. Nah, it was already in a downward spiral. It just straight up fell off a cliff when Ken died. Harsh, but let's be real. Hoonigan is about more than just epic driving stunts. It's a culture, a mindset. People who love Hoonigan aren't just fans, they're diehards. And that means even if Gymkhana takes a break or changes, the Hoonigan brand could still survive. They've got a dedicated fan base, and where there's passion, there's always a way. So, what happens now? Well, the outcome depends on a few things. If they nail the restructuring, we could see a leaner, meaner Hoonigan emerge. The $1.2 billion in debt, well, gone. Some assets sold off to keep the wheels turning. Four-wheel parts and maybe some other brands are already on the chopping block. But if they can stay focused on what made them special, crazy stunts, epic builds, and that next level car culture, there's hope. And here's the thing, Hoonigan, it's not just a brand, it is definitely a lifestyle. They may have hit a wall, yes, but it's not over yet. If they can land this restructuring the way Ken Block landed his drifts, we could be looking at the comeback of a decade. I mean, who doesn't love a comeback story, right? And even if they look a little different after this, that spirit of burning rubber and taking risks, it's never gonna die. So, that is the Hoonigan story, guys. Can they rise from the ashes like a turbocharged phoenix, or is this the end of an era? I know you have opinions, so drop them in the comments. Smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, and share this video with any of your Hoonigan fan friends. I'm Brad. Check out these vids over here. Keep hooning, and remember one thing. Keep living the ideal lifestyle.